away in the suburbs of Edmond, Oklahoma, Paul Howell just arrived from school shopping with his two daughters and his sister. He pulled into his mother's driveway and immediately was approached by a man wearing a red bandana and a white shirt who demanded him to turn over his keys to his 1997 Suburban. What happens next would change the course of Julius's life forever. So this is the story of Julius Jones. In the summer of 1999, Julius was a fun and carefree sophomore at the University of Oklahoma, where he attended on an academic scholarship and was a member of the basketball team. Julius graduated from the John Marshall High School, where he was a member of the National Honor Society. He ranked 11 out of 43 students in his class. He was also co-captain for the football team. He played basketball and he ran track. So Julius, like the typical teenager, got in a little bit of a trouble when he was a teenager because he liked to have nice things and liked to attract girls. So he ended up being charged with petty theft at a young age for stealing something. I'm not sure what exactly he stole, but he stole something. But basically, he just wanted to show off for the girls, you know, like a lot of little boys. So he ended up stealing something and got in trouble for it. And there was also another time when he had, I do believe it was a fake ID, and he gave a false statement for the ID. So he got into like a little bit of trouble for that. But either way, he was still very, very smart. Like as far as like school goes, he was very, very book smart. So he wasn't the type to like skip school. He would literally get very good grades, and he stuck with that despite all the other poor choices. So one summer, Julius started hanging out with a former high school friend. His name was Chris Westside Jordan. And he was basically bad news. So he got in trouble a lot of times for being associated with gangs and basically doing a bunch of dumb stuff. So Julius met Chris when he transferred to John Marshall High School because his parents were worried about the effect that the gang would have on him. So this is why his parents transferred him to John Marshall High School. So Julius's best friend Jimmy was very, very concerned that Julius was hanging out with Chris. So when Jimmy asked Julius about it, Julius basically told Jimmy that they had an agreement where Julius would take the ACT exam for Chris, and in exchange, Chris will give him a large amount of money. And that's basically how they started hanging out together. So Julius had celebrated his 18th birthday on July 25th, and on the night of July 28th, Julius was at home with his parents Anthony and Madeline Jones. He was also there with his siblings Antonio and Antoinette. So his parents, they recounted what exactly he was doing the night when the murder took place. So fast forward to the night of the murder. So according to them, they had enjoyed a dinner prepared by Julius' mom. She made spaghetti, and after they had dinner, they were playing Monopoly. And then after that, Julius' mom had to take Antonio to work because he had to be at work at 10 p.m. So around 9:30 p.m., they decided to leave for work. So at the time, Julius was upset at his siblings because he found out that they ate basically almost all of his birthday cake, because as I said, his birthday was on the 25th. So like 3 days later, he noticed that they ate almost all of his birthday cake. So since his brother wasn't there, he basically took out his anger on his sister, basically, who was there. So as soon as his mom walked through the door, he basically ran to her and let her know how frustrated he was that his siblings ate all of his birthday cake. So 20 minutes away in Edmond, Oklahoma, Paul Howell's sister ran inside the house basically after her brother was gunned down. She ran inside the house with her two nieces and went to go get her dad. Her dad came outside and immediately called 911, and the police came in a hurry. Paul Howell was unfortunately pronounced dead at the hospital by the time he got there. So police immediately started investigating this murder. I mean, it was a white businessman that was gunned down in front of his home, in front of his two daughters and his sister, in a suburban area. So this case automatically took priority, so they were on it. And when the sister of Paul described the shooter as a black man, basically this even got more serious for the police. Like, they wanted to find the shooter, and they wanted to find him like yesterday. So the case against Julius began when a man named Liddell King walked into the Oklahoma City Police Department and told them that he knew exactly who committed the murder against Paul Howell. He basically told police that that night he saw Julius wearing a white shirt and a red bandana, and he saw Julius in the Suburban with his friend Chris. He said both of them pulled up to his apartment the night of July 28th, and he watched Julius park the car, and both of them got out of the car, and Julius walked up to him and asked him did he know anyone who would be able to buy the car from him. So this guy, Liddell King, was considered like a middleman. Like basically if you stole a car, you can bring it to him and he can get the car to some sort of body shop or like auto parts where they can bust it down and like sell the parts. So he was like that middleman in the community that just handles stuff like that. So apparently he allowed them to leave the car in his driveway. And then the next day, him and Julius went to a guy named Kermit to sell the SUV. But basically Kermit was like, no, he's not buying it because, you know, it was all over the news and he just did not want to be caught up with it, and it was confirmed that the vehicle was stolen. Since Kermit did not want to buy the vehicle, Liddell said him and Julius decided to drive the vehicle to a parking lot and then leave it there. So Liddell basically told the police that Julius admitted to him that he killed this guy, and because of this, because of the whole statement that he made, police then went ahead and questioned his friend Chris. When they questioned his friend Chris, they kind of like questioned him as in kind of like an interrogation form, where they basically kind of told him like, well, your friend said that you did it, you know, like trying to get him to say something. So they basically kind of pressured him, and he basically said that Julius was the one who did it. He even went as far as telling investigators where exactly they could find the murder weapon and the red bandana. So in no time, police ended up raiding Julius's home and basically scaring their family, because at this point the family, they heard about the shooting but they wouldn't think that Julius had anything to do with it. So police ended up raiding their home and destroying a lot of their properties in pursuit of this murder weapon and the bandana. So the only problem with this is that a few nights before they raided the home, Chris actually spent the night at Julius's house. Chris showed up at Julius's house in the middle of the night, basically saying that his grandmother locked him out. I'm guessing because he broke curfew or whatever. So his grandmother locked him out and asking Julius, can he stay the night there? So Julius, being the kind and caring person that he is, decided to let Chris spend the night at his house. So he then gave up his bedroom for Chris to sleep in. So Chris slept upstairs in his bedroom and he slept downstairs on the couch. So this would have given Chris plenty of time to plant the murder weapon in the attic, exactly where he told police that they could have found the murder weapon. At the trial, there were a lot of inconsistency in Chris's testimony, but Julius's defense attorney was a public defense who basically didn't really know much about what he was doing. Like, he's never handled a case like this before. In the back of his mind, like, he really felt like Julius was the one who committed this crime, because Julius was a black man, so he automatically thought that he did it. And it's almost like he wasn't necessarily fighting for him or fighting to prove his innocence at all. So the attorney basically didn't let any of the family members testify in court to say that Julius had an alibi that night, and Julius was literally at home eating dinner. So he didn't allow any of the family members to testify at all, so no one knew that. The attorney also failed to cross-examine at least 6 different inconsistencies in statements that were given to the police. So basically they just did not even care. Like, at this point, Julius might as well would have just represented himself at this point. I mean, he did end up getting the death penalty, so clearly he didn't really do a good job. Like, and also another thing in this case, so the sister of the victim, Paul, who was shot, testified and said that the person who shot her brother had about a 1/2 inch of hair. Like, she was able to see it peeking out through the bandana. But Julius had taken a photo just about a few days before, and he had a ball cut. Like, his hair was literally bald, so there's no way he would have grown and half an inch of hair within just a few days. And also, the sister did testify that the build of the guy who committed the crime fit the description of Chris more than it did Julius, but they were not trying to hear that at all. And also, during the trial, there were instances where jurors were making, I hope I can't say that word, were making racist comments, like even as much as calling Julius the N-word, and basically saying that he was guilty just by default without them even hearing the trial. And those jurors who were biased against Julius, they were not removed from the trial at all, even though the prosecution was aware of this. Also, prosecutorial misconduct was a huge factor in this case. So the defense attorney that was in office at the time, his name was Bob Macy, and apparently that guy literally gave 54 people the death penalty. And come to find out, half of them were proven innocent. And he ended up getting fired because he had a huge part in a forensic scientist who was falsifying evidence to basically back up his convictions. I mean, that's a crime. You should have been arrested. But despite all of that, Julius remained on death row. And on top of that, as I said before, this case was highly publicized, but it also had a very racial undertone, because everyone that was reporting on this case, they were basically reporting that, you know, a white family man, businessman was gunned down by a black man. So because of that, and the time that we were living in at the time was super, super racist. So Julius even reported that when he was arrested, one of the police officers literally took the handcuff off of him and said, "I dare you to run," basically, and called him the N-word. Like, why would you even do that? So basically, you take the handcuffs off of him and telling him to run so you can kill him. So Julius's friend, Chris Jordan, was arrested and charged as well. He was facing up to 30 years in prison, but somehow in 2014 he was released after serving only 15 years. And also the guy Liddell King, who basically made the statement to police that he knew that Julius was the one who killed Paul, he was not charged as well for his involvement in the case because he was heavily involved. Like, he literally said that he drove with Julius to try to get the vehicle sold, and he also said that he let them park the vehicle in his driveway. So yeah, you should have been charged with something, to say the least, but he was charged with nothing. And basically he lied because he didn't see Julius commit the crime, and Julius didn't confess to him that he committed the crime, so he basically lied. So Julius' defense sent letters and requests to the Supreme Court for them to review Julius's case to try to get him off death row, because obviously it was just not a fair trial, but they denied the request twice. In 2018, there was a documentary that came out that's called The Last Defense. That was basically produced by Viola Davis. I almost said Annalise Keaton. Like, we need an Annalise Keaton. Like, if you watch How to Get Away with Murder, you know we need a lawyer like that. Like, listen, fire. But The Last Defense was produced by Viola Davis, and this is when she brought attention to Julius's case. Then in 2019, Kim Kardashian started spreading awareness of this case and trying to get him off of death row. In October 2021, Julius basically asked the Oklahoma City judge to halt the execution, and it was denied. As of November 1st, 2021, the federal Supreme Court basically granted the appeal to schedule the execution by November 18th. So after maintaining his innocence, he also requested again for them to pardon the execution and reduce it down to life in prison, if anything, because I mean, this is something that he did not do. But they voted, and it was a vote of 3-1. And again, that appeal was once again denied as of November 12th. So a petition was created to stop the execution, and they requested about, I think it was like 7 million signatures. So the petition was basically created so that the governor, Kevin Stitch, I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, would basically go in and put a stop to his execution. At first, I thought that this was not gonna happen because as of November 17th, I went on Twitter and I saw that they were putting barricades by the governor's mansion, which was very, very scary, because this basically told me that this was kind of like a final decision and they're getting ready just in case a riot broke out, because his execution was scheduled for November 18th at 4 p.m. But around 12 p.m. the governor went in and commuted his execution. So now his charges were basically dropped to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And for some reason, that just still does not sit well with me. So he's been in jail for about 19 years now, so they were trying to get him out on time served. But I mean, thank God he's not dead, but that's still not good enough. At least his life was safe, so now they can still continue to appeal to try to get him out. I'm not sure what the next steps are gonna be here, but it's just still suck that someone has to be in jail for this long for a crime that they did not commit. So Kim Kardashian went ahead and she posted to thank the governor to basically reducing the sentence. So Kim Kardashian said she was on the phone with him all morning, and while she was on the phone, someone basically came into the cell to give him the anxiety medication, because I'm guessing they give you anxiety medication leading up to the execution. So I'm guessing it was supposed to calm your nerves or whatever it is. So he basically declined those medications. He said that he didn't want them because he was already at peace, because his conscience is very clear, because he knows for a fact that he's innocent and he did not commit that crime. But yeah, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.